Welcome back to the Father Son podcast. I'm Collin.
And I'm Michael.
And this is episode 5. And today we are talking all about the Champions League final.
That's right. It's coming up this Saturday. It's going to be in Istanbul, Turkey at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got Inter Milan versus Man City.
All right. And speaking of Inter Milan and Manchester City, I'm going to start off this episode with a quiz for you.
Okay.
So, how many players, I'm putting you on the spot.
This might be rough.
How many Manchester City players can you name in 15 seconds?
Oh my gosh.
All right, starting now.
De Bruyne, Holland, Grealish, Ederson.
Yep.
Foden.
Okay, nice. 3 more
Gosh.
seconds.
Yeah.
1,
That was
0.
tough.
Oh.
I'm not like a super soccer fanatic like you are. So
I thought you would get more than 5, I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting like the whole team or anything, but I thought you would get maybe 7 or 8.
In 15 seconds under pressure, that was the tough part. If I had a little time to think about it, I would have had a lot more.
You got 5. It could be worse. You got half of a starting 11, almost half, but not quite.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the table on you then.
Okay.
And you get 15 seconds. I don't have a timer. I'll do it in my head.
Okay, we got a timer right here.
Oh, okay. 15 seconds to do Inter Milan.
Okay.
As many players as you can get. Ready?
Yeah.
Set, go.
Onana, we've got Darmian, we've got Bastoni, we've got Arturo Martinez, Edin Dzeko, Çalhanoğlu,
5 seconds.
Barella, Dumfries,
Wow.
Lukaku.
Time.
Time?
Okay, yeah, that.
Okay.
Well, you did much better than I did.
I got 9, so almost double you.
For a team that we don't know as well, that's for sure.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, I'll take 9. I was expecting a few more, but that's all right.
So
I can live with it.
Now that we've talked about some of the players, let's go a little bit more into depth about some of the teams and like who they are, who the players are, maybe some key players that are going to be in the match and stuff like that, strategies, tactics.
Cool.
So
should we talk first about Manchester City? We know a little bit more about them.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, yeah, I watch Manchester City a lot because I watch the English Premier League. I don't watch the Serie A, which is the Italian league, as much. And so I know a lot more about how Manchester City play.
Yeah, and especially since during the league's play, they were in hot competition for first place with Arsenal. And I know you were going for Arsenal.
Yeah.
So we were kind of watching both of them a lot to see like who was going to end up victorious there. But yeah, we have had a lot more exposure to Man City this season.
Yeah.
Normal.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about their play style, their players and stuff like that. And actually, one thing that I wanted to mention about Manchester City, their coach.
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola, I think, is one of the most important parts of their team. He is one of the best managers I've ever seen, and I don't care what you guys say, because people say, well, he's not actually that good. He always just manages the best teams. He's managed Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Manchester City.
He pulled the teams together.
But
right?
yeah, look what he's done with those teams and how the teams have done after he's left.
Yeah.
Look at Barcelona under Pep Guardiola, and then after he left, they went downhill for a while. Now they're doing okay again.
Yeah.
But Pep Guardiola is doing some crazy stuff this season. Do you know about his tactics and what he's doing?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he's starting the game, or I shouldn't even say starting the game. When Manchester City are in possession, they play a 3-back, and then when they lose possession, they go into a 4-back.
Okay.
And so
who are they pulling up? Just one of the right or left back, or is it always the right back?
It's actually it's really
centers?
weird. They actually play with 4 center backs at the back.
Oh.
And
Okay.
so instead of having a left back and a right back, it's all across the back line of center backs.
Okay.
And then John Stones is one of, I think he plays right center back, or maybe it's left center back. But when Manchester City have possession, John Stones comes up and plays as a double pivot with Rodri. So he's in the midfield.
Okay.
So it's basically creating an overload wherever they are. They always have that extra player and that advantage.
That's really interesting. I know they do have a lot of possession. They play a lot of possession.
Yeah.
And they keep a pretty high line. So their defense is always pushing up to try to keep a high line. And it's obviously worked very well for them this season. Mm-hmm. So in the regular season and in the Champions League and other tournaments that they've been playing.
If we talk a little bit about Champions League in particular with Manchester City, they haven't done quite as well as Inter have.
They've only gotten to the final
this season. So yes, they have gone to the final, but they've made it a little bit harder than they needed to. And
like in what way?
Well, just because they haven't had super convincing wins, they've had draws against teams that they probably should have easily beat and things like that, but they have made it to the final.
And
so.
you say that Inter has been more convincing
Yeah, definitely.
in their wins.
They've had 5 clean sheets
Yeah.
in 6 knockout games.
Yeah, that's pretty tough to do.
That is pretty
Yeah.
good. I don't know. I think I disrespected Inter a little bit before I did some research on them. And now that I did some research on them, they're a pretty decent side.
Yeah, you're not so sure maybe who's going to win, or maybe you have a prediction. We'll get into that later. But so who do you think some of the key players are in this competition?
For City or Inter or both?
Yeah, I guess we've been talking about City. So maybe some key players on City's side.
Okay, obviously, Kevin De Bruyne.
De Bruyne, yeah.
Holland.
Right.
I think De Bruyne is more influential than Holland is. A lot of people might disagree with that.
You got to
because-
have Holland pretty much to just tap the ball into the goal.
Yes.
But as
he
far
is
as
very
making,
good at that.
Yeah, as far as making the plays, just getting the ball in the right place at the right time and all that, De Bruyne is the playmaker. And I think got another one too.
And Bernardo Silva or Jack Grealish?
I was thinking Grealish, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Manchester City also have crazy squad depth. So
It is.
when you
It's
say
insane.
they have a player making the plays, you can name 6 different guys.
Lots of players making the plays.
Yeah,
yes.
and you have Riyad Mahrez on the right, and Bernardo Silva has been taking his place recently. You have Jack Grealish and Phil Foden on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Grealish has been playing most of the season, and you can't blame Guardiola for
Right.
choosing Grealish. He's had a really good season.
Yep.
And then, yeah, you have Gundogan, who's also a really underrated player, along with Kevin De Bruyne in the middle. Their team is just
They're stacked.
super stacked. Yeah.
And of course, Ederson in goal, he does a phenomenal job. So, yeah, we've got a pretty stacked team on Manchester's side.
Yeah. But Inter's side, I thought they weren't so stacked until I started doing some more research and
Digging
really
in a little bit.
and really looking at their team.
Yeah.
And they are pretty stacked.
Yeah. So, who do you like on Inter?
Well, I like that they have 3 different, you could say, world-class striker options. Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy to me. Manchester City didn't even have a striker until this season. They played with a false 9, and now Holland came in, and he's their striker. But Inter have 3 options, so they usually play with 2 strikers. So they'll play with Lautaro Martinez
Yep.
as one of the strikers, and then they rotate Lukaku and Dzeko to be partners with him. And that's been working really well this season. I was disappointed with Martinez's performance in the World Cup,
Yeah.
even though Argentina did end up winning it.
Yes.
But for club, he has been really, really good this season.
Yeah, and I think for Champions League, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists already. So, yeah, he's doing pretty well.
Which
And-
looks pretty good until you see Holland's numbers and realize he's scored 12 goals in the Champions League.
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he's also the youngest player to ever get to 35 goals, I think, in the Champions League, which is
Holland
crazy.
is an animal.
He's a robot. I like
Yeah.
to call him a robot, not an animal, because he's just a machine.
Yes, Messi is an alien, and Holland is a robot. So I
Yes.
guess that's what they call them.
So Inter play with a classic Italian football play style. Do you know how they play?
No, I couldn't really describe that.
So they play with a 3 at the back. So actually, you could
that's
kind of
similar.
say it's similar to Manchester City because when they're in possession, they go to that 3 at the back.
It's a 3-5-2.
It's definitely
they play?
different, yeah. So their right and left wing backs are a big part of their team because they're playing as, well, backs and wingers.
Yep.
And so I think that's usually Dumfries, and he plays on the right side. And then who is it on the left? I have it written down here somewhere. DeMarco.
DeMarco.
They've got DeMarco as the left wing back. And so lots of the play goes through them. They're really good at counterattacks because of those wing backs. So it's definitely different styles of play. Manchester City are much more possession based, and then Inter Milan are much more counterattacking because of those wing backs that they have.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell just based on like the games, the possession time and all of that, kind of how they're going to play. And I think this is going to be, pretty typical for each of these teams, how they're going to play. That Man City's going to have a bunch of possession. Inter Milan's going to be back a lot, but then they're just going to strike at the right moments. So it'll be an interesting game to see how it all plays out. If Inter can actually hold Man City from scoring, if they can get those counterattack strikes in goal or not. So it'll be pretty interesting. Do you know who is Inter's center back? Is that Bastoni?
Yeah, Bastoni, and then they also have a Serbi back there. I don't know if he's their starting center back.
Because Bastoni, he leads in tackles right now in the Champions League games. So
Most successful tackles in
yeah.
Champions League?
He
Wow.
has what was it? I don't know. It was pretty high. Yeah, I can't remember the numbers, but he is leading. So
Okay.
he is going to be a big part, I think, of stopping them. And I think that for Inter to win, he's going to have a really good game to stop them, to stop Holland from scoring when he's sitting in the right place at the right time, because that's what Holland does.
Yeah, so obviously Manchester City just beat Real Madrid in the semifinals, and that was a big talking point. In the first leg, Holland was kind of getting pocketed by Rudiger, one of the center backs, and then Rudiger didn't start in the next game, and Manchester City destroyed. So a good center back, especially against someone like Holland, is very, very important. But also, a good keeper is really important. And I don't know if you know Handanovic. Have you heard of him?
No.
He was Inter's starting goalie up until this season, and then he just completely got taken out of the lineup.
By Ananu, is that his name?
Onana. Yeah. And so he's been having a really good season. He's made some really good saves. So
he's been the only one playing in the Champions League.
Yeah, he's completely taken Handanovic's spot. So if he can come up with some big saves, that might be really important for Inter Milan too.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, it's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to the Saturday to see how it all plays out. We are going to go into a quiz, though. So I've got a quiz for you. And this is related. It's not exactly about the Champions League game, but it's very related.
Okay.
So do you know what a treble is?
Yeah.
Okay, so the quiz is going to be all about the treble.
The treble.
So first, in as few words as possible, explain what a treble is.
That is going to be winning the Champions League, the Domestic League Cup, and the league.
Right.
So
whatever league they're in.
Yeah, so for Manchester City, that would be the Champions League, the English Premier League, and the FA Cup.
Right. Okay, so this is a huge deal. Like, this does not happen very often. In fact, that's the next question is, how many times has a treble been won?
In history?
Yes.
In any country? Oh my gosh, I'm going to say...
Well, it can only be in Europe because the Champions League is part of that.
Right.
So...
Okay, I'm going to say 7 times.
Yeah, very close. It's actually 9.
9, okay.
Yeah, 9 times.
Wow, that's actually crazy because Messi has 3 of those. Did you know that?
Oh, well, let's see.
Messi has a hat trick of trebles.
Okay, well, before you give anything away, one of the other questions is... has any team won it more than once?
Yes.
Okay, which teams, if it's more than one, and how many times?
I'm going to say Barcelona 3 times, Manchester United 2 times, and Liverpool once.
Okay, so I looked this up, so I'm pretty sure you said Barca 3 times, and I'm thinking that's where you got the Messi thing, but according to what I've looked up, they've only won it twice.
Okay, I think Messi has 3, but we'll put on screen. Oops.
We'll fix
how
that
many he actually has
if he's wrong.
Yeah.
So what I have is Barca twice.
Okay.
And who else did you say? You said Man United, and who else?
I said Man United and Liverpool.
Oh, okay. So it's actually Bayern is the other one that's won it twice. Those are the only 2 teams that have won it twice.
Okay, that actually makes sense. I should have thought about the Bundesliga because Bayern has been dominating over there.
Right. So 9 times in total in history, and 2 teams have won it twice. That means there's only a few teams left.
Right.
And can you name any of them? Let's see.
Okay, I'm going to say Manchester United.
You got one?
I'm going to say Liverpool.
Nope.
No? Dang, they dominated European football in like the maybe 80s or 90s. Okay, is it an Italian team?
Let's see. This is like showing how bad I am at knowing. I think one of them is Italian.
Okay. And I'm going to say...
Oh, actually, I think 2 of them are Italian.
2 of them. Oh, boy. Let's go with AC Milan.
Nope.
No? Dang, who else would it be in Italy? It's not Juventus, is it?
No, this is just kind of funny. You'll figure out why it's funny here in a second.
Oh. Is it Inter Milan?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
So that's another reason why we're talking about this for this game is because Inter has actually won the treble.
Wow, I did not know that. And guess what? This is something I wanted to mention earlier. They've actually won a Champions League. Manchester City have never won a Champions League. The last time they won was in 2010, and so maybe that'll make Manchester won it a little bit more. That'll give them that edge because they've never won it before and they want to. Or maybe that'll give Inter an advantage because they've had experience with this.
They've been here, done that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So speaking of that, they may win their first Champions League. They may also win their first. What are we talking about right now?
Inter treble.
Yeah.
Wait.
Man City.
Oh, Manchester City. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about Inter.
No, sorry. So Man City may win their first treble right now because they've got their cup coming up when we're recording that, this actually this Saturday.
actually
but
this Saturday.
It'll be in the past, so you'll know if
You
they
will
won
know
that or not.
Yeah, and I think they have a very good chance of winning the treble.
Yeah. So that's going to be another interesting thing. Okay. Real quickly, any other guesses for winners? I don't think you're going to think of them, but
Can you name what country they're in?
I think the other one's Italian, and you definitely know the team name, but I don't know for sure.
Oh
if
man,
they're-
it's probably something like a long time ago. Let's go Lazio.
No.
No?
Okay, I'll just give them to you.
Okay.
Celtic, Ajax.
What? Okay, this is like super old then, because Celtic has not.
That was
won-
in the 60s.
Yeah, so that was before it was actually called the Champions League. That was
Oh,
like the
okay.
European. I think they just called it the European Cup or something.
Okay. So Ajax, where are they from?
Netherlands.
Ajax is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was my bad. So that was the one I thought might be Italian.
Okay.
I couldn't think of it. PSV Eindhoven.
What in the world? Okay, so this
Who
is
are
like
they?
a long, long time ago. That's also they're in the Netherlands.
The PSV Eindhoven, that was maybe in the 70s
Yeah.
or the 80s.
Okay,
Even.
I never
So-
would have got that.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
if I thought a little bit more, I might have thought about those teams that did really well a long, long time ago, but I was nowhere close to that.
okay. Well, anyway, that was the treble quiz. Some interesting information there. Something that doesn't come up very often because it's not happened very often, but there is a chance of it happening this year. And with Man City winning the Champions League, it might just happen again.
Yeah, I think people talked about Liverpool winning the treble last season, and then I'm pretty sure they ended up actually winning nothing. They got close to Champions League, they got close to Premier League, and I can't remember what happened in the FA Cup. They might have actually won the FA Cup,
Okay.
but yeah, that was kind of a bust for them.
Well, they did kind of choke this year too on the league. Man, they were so close.
Liverpool?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking
Arsenal.
about Arsenal. Yeah. Okay, Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool have not been that great in the
No,
league.
no, they have not done that well this season.
Neither have Chelsea. They've got 12th place,
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
which is crazy. I feel like I have to apologize for all the people that don't care about soccer, because this is like 2 episodes in a row. That's not really on purpose. We're not trying to make this whole podcast about soccer, but an important event is happening, and so we must talk about it.
That's right. And for those of you that are outside the States that probably do care about soccer, hopefully you are enjoying
Or should we
this.
say football?
Football. That's
Yes.
right. Football.
Yeah, and so speaking of soccer and other sports, we might do something on the NBA finals that are happening right now. So if you're more into basketball, that might be coming up. I don't know a lot about basketball at all, so I'm not going to try to lie about that and pretend I know a lot, but we might do an episode and I will expose
Yeah.
myself.
Talk about the finals. Yeah.
Next up, we are going to be introducing a new segment into our show. We're going to try to do this, I think, every single podcast. And this is called Breakdown. And today we're doing it on Erling Braut Haaland. Haaland is currently 22 years old, and he broke into the scene in 2019 when he signed for Salzburg. He then moved to Dortmund in 2020, where he scored almost as many goals as games he played, which is just insane.
Crazy.
He then famously signed for Manchester City in 2022, and after 1 season in the Premier League, he has the record for most goals in a season. He is an absolute robot. He scored 52 goals in 51 games for Manchester City so far. Again, insane.
Crazy.
Robot. I don't know how many times they need to say that. And he has 12 goals in the Champions League this season. So, my opinion on Haaland is going to be surprising. I think he is underrated.
Yeah.
People say that he's only good because he plays for City, but he proved it with Dortmund, he proved it with Salzburg, and the couple teams he played before that, and I think he will finish his career as the best number 9 of all time.
Wow. That is a huge prediction right there.
Yes, better than Ronaldo Nazario, better than Luis Suarez, which is sad because I'm a Barcelona fan, but yes, he will be the best number 9 of all time.
Well, I love Holland too. There's still a lot to be left to be seen about how it's going to turn out. But at age 22, what he is doing is absolutely incredible. Just the composure, like the maturity for someone at that age to play at this level is insane. And he has a really cool personality.
Yes,
Like he is
I do
fun
like
to
him.
watch in interviews. So I could just see him having a great career and just, making having a ton of fun with it and doing super well.
Absolutely. The only thing I just really hope Holland doesn't have problems with is injuries, because he did have some injury problems at Dortmund. I think he's got probably some better, what do you call it? Not necessarily coaching, but like they got better stuff, better technology at Manchester City. So hopefully he can remain healthy, score lots of goals in his career, and my prediction will come true. Speaking of predictions, though, we're going to talk about predictions for the Champions League final.
Let's do it. Okay. So maybe let's do the score prediction at the end game and like who's going to win and what the score is going to be. We'll do at the end. But let's start with maybe who's going to be the man of the match. Who do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. I didn't think about that. But you know what?
Probably depends on who wins.
Who
So
wins.
we might be giving away our prediction there.
I'm going to go man of the match, Bernardo Silva.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was surprising.
Okay. Well, what about your man of the match?
I think I'm going to have to go to De Bruyne.
De Bruyne? Yep.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's the obvious one.
I know it
can't
is.
be boring like that. Come on.
But yeah, I just had to do it. If Inter were to win, I might pick their defender, but Bastoni, yeah, because that is another option. He could take it if they win.
If he does shut down Holland and the rest of Manchester City's attack, then he could definitely win man of the match.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with my De
Okay.
Bruyne.
Okay.
So just curious. I know City is going to have a lot more possession, or predict that they will.
Right.
But what do you think the actual percentage will be? City versus Inter.
I'm gonna go 68% for City. So that's a lot. But like we've already talked about, Manchester City is a possession-based team, and Inter plays on the counterattack.
Okay, I was thinking high, but I was thinking more like 62%.
62? Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably more realistic, but with how both the teams play, it seems like it'll be pretty high in Manchester City's favor.
Smart. Okay. All right. So final is who's going to win and what's the score?
All right. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll go first. So I would love to predict an upset, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think City is going to win it, and I think it's going to be 3-1.
Well, you stole my scoreline, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say 3-2.
Oh, okay.
Because I think with John Stones in that double pivot role and keeping only 3 players at the back,
it's going to expose them a little bit.
yeah, those counterattacks are going to be really dangerous for Manchester City, Inter's counterattacks. That's actually what took Barcelona out of the Champions League this season. Inter has had a really hard path. They had Bayern Munich and they had Barcelona in their group, and they still managed to make it out. And that's how they took Barcelona out, is on that counterattack. They were destroying Barcelona. And that's even with Barcelona's center back, Araujo, which I think he's one of the best center backs.
He is.
If not the best center back in the world right now.
Right.
So I'm going to go 3-2, but ultimately Manchester City's class, their tactics with Pep Guardiola, their players, they're going to win.
Can't disagree.
So that is going to wrap up this week's episode. We promise next week we are not going to be doing a soccer podcast. So for you Americans, because I know most Americans prefer other sports, we're going to be doing something other than soccer. So we hope you enjoyed listening or watching to this. Watching to this? That doesn't make sense.
Watching this.
Listening to this or watching this.
There you go.
If you are watching it, leave it a like. And if you're listening to it, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.